started with the ingredient rundown on this King Ranch casserole. In a previous video, you may have seen me make my homemade cream of chicken soup, and that is what we're going to be using today. If you want to make this recipe for just one casserole, you're going to need 2 cups of that cream of chicken soup. I'm making 3 casseroles today because I am bulk cooking and I'm sharing with some ladies from church. So, I made 6 cups for myself. You're also going to need 1 12-ounce can of tomato and green chili. I have my own homemade version. You're going to need 2 large chicken breasts that have been cooked and shredded. You're going to need 1 cup of diced bell pepper, whatever color combination you choose. 1 cup of diced onion. I'm going to be sauteing the vegetables in some butter, so I have about 4 tablespoons of butter here, and I have about 6 cloves of garlic that have been minced, and I'm also going to be using corn tortillas. I don't know how many yet. I just took some out of the package and I cut them in half. And then we're going to be using a blend of cheddar cheese and mozzarella cheese and Monterey Jack cheese, whatever you have on hand. And you're going to need about 3 cups for 1 casserole. So I'm going to meet you over at the stove and I'm going to show you how we put this together. Because first we have to make the sauce and then we're going to build the casserole. I've melted my butter in this skillet and I'm just going to go ahead and add all of my veggies. And we're going to give them a toss and we're going to let them saute for about 3 to 5 minutes. We don't need to cook them all the way down. I just want to get them sauteed a little bit in this butter to take away the raw edge. Because we're going to be putting it in a casserole and this is going to be baked for about a half an hour. These are going to cook further when they're in the oven in that really beautiful sauce that we're getting ready to create. So you don't have to cook them to death on this in the skillet is what I guess I'm saying. So there goes our onions, our bell peppers, and our garlic in the butter. We're just going to go ahead and saute these over medium-high heat for just 3 to 5 minutes, and I'll be back when it's time to move forward. Alright, our vegetables have been sauteing for just about 5 minutes, and they're perfect. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our cream of chicken soup. If all you have is cream of mushroom, then use it. But I've made my own, and this is for 3 recipes worth, so you can get the written recipe for 1 single casserole on my website. There will be a link in the information box below, and it'll be just what you're looking for. Alright, now we're going to add our rotel, or our diced tomato and green chili, and I have 1 jar of my homemade and 1 giant can that I had in my pantry. And now I think I have 1 can or jar of my own homemade stuff left. Alright, so this is the sauce that we're going to use to make our King Ranch casserole. Just get this all stirred up really well. And now we're going to go back over to the counter and we're going to start making or putting together our casserole. This smells so good. I can't wait to show you what this looks like in the end. Alright, we're going to get our casserole going here. This is for all intents and purposes, equivalent to a 9x13 casserole dish or baking pan. Now I'm going to I took my corn tortillas, I cut them in half, and I arranged them in the bottom. So we've got a nice layer of corn tortilla.
You sprayed the bottom first, right?
I did spray the bottom first, yes. Thank you for reminding me. And now we're just going to layer in some of our chicken. Now this is just 6, these were really big chicken breasts. You can cook a whole chicken if you like. You do what you want. This was just easy and accessible. This is what I had on hand, so I threw them in a pot and I cooked them off. So there's our chicken. And then we're going to ladle in some of this sauce right on the top. I gotta tell you, this sauce tastes really good all by itself. Okay, now I'm going to take about a handful of cheese. We'll go back in here with some more corn tortillas, just like this. So really, it is very reminiscent of a lasagna. I don't want any holes either, so. And we're going to repeat these layers one more time. And I'm going to give this like a little shaky shake, just like that. Now, we'll go back on top with more tortillas. And this will be pretty much your closing layer. And then we're just going to put cheese on top of that. To put in the oven at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes until it's nice and bubbly. You don't have to cover it. You just have to bake it off. And then you let it sit for 10 minutes before you cut into it and you enjoy it. I'll bring you back and I'll show you what it looks like after it comes out of the oven. Right, we had put this in about a half an hour ago and it smells incredible. And I like this top. It gets nice and crispy and the cheese gets nice and it's not hard, but it's delicious. So we're going to let this just hang out for about 10 minutes so it can settle down before we slice into it. And I'll bring you back and I'll fix you a plate of King Ranch Casserole. Have it, King Ranch Casserole. And you are going to love it. This tastes like the most delicious, creamy chicken enchilada that you ever put in your mouth. It's not dripping with cheese. It holds together. It doesn't, it's just perfect. You're going to love this. So this is my classic tuna noodle casserole. It is a very huge throwback. This is definitely a retro recipe if there ever was one. So what you're going to start with is one regular size bag of extra wide egg noodles. I have already boiled them and they're ready to go. We're going to do an 8-ounce can of sliced mushrooms, 4 5-ounce cans of albacore tuna that you leave the juice in. You're going to use everything. Don't drain it. I have 1 regular sized can of cream of celery soup, 1 regular sized can of cream of mushroom soup, and about a cup of chopped black olives. Now, you're going to look at that and go, those olives don't look black. They kind of look brown. And that would be correct. These are the kind of olives that I have really been enjoying lately, and that is because they don't use chemicals to make them black. They don't use artificial anything. These are ripened on the vine or on the tree. They're hand picked and then they're processed and brined and they're delicious. And you can find these in the aisle where they sell the pickles at your grocery store. That's all that's in this casserole and it's super delicious. So really, we're just gonna get started by mixing everything up. I like to use the pot I boil the noodles in because that saves an extra dirty bowl. Just go ahead and put your cream of soup in the pot. We're gonna go ahead and pop in all of this stuff. I like to mix up the sauce first, and then we'll add the noodles. Awesome. Mix this up. And you don't have to flake the tuna a whole lot, just break it up a little. Sometimes those nice big chunks are a wonderful bite when you bake up the casserole. Now I have my oven preheating at 350. This is just gonna stay in there for about a half an hour until it's nice and bubbly. This is super simple. This is like basic home ec food. This is what you're gonna learn how to make in home economics class. And I have 4 cups of cheddar cheese here, and we're gonna use half of it in the sauce. So now, as you can imagine, the next step is to put this, the noodles in here and give everything a good toss. Now, here is where you may or may not wish to add some milk. And I think I'm gonna do that. Give this a good toss, and I'm gonna add that milk. I have poured myself about a cup of milk. If you like your tuna casserole a little saucier than I have made mine today, feel free to add an extra can of cream of soup, either the mushroom or the celery, or both if you like. It's up to you. This is how we like it. I don't like it to be like runny when we spoon into it. But if you like yours that way, you should totally make yours the way you love it. All right, I'm going to tip this into our casserole dish. Often I will use a foil pan to do this just because it's easy. And this is a really great casserole to take to a potluck. It's a great casserole to share with a family in need. And they're quick to put together. And you can make this in advance and freeze it. If you want to do that, what you're going to do now is just top this with cheese and then you're gonna wrap it and put it in the freezer. If you're gonna do that, I would recommend putting this in a foil pan because it just makes everything so much easier. Then just take the rest of your cheese and sprinkle it over the top. I like to make sure the cheese is as even as possible. It's gonna melt, so it's not like imperative that it completely cover the entirety of the casserole, so don't worry about that too much. Just make sure it's as even as possible. We're gonna pop this in a 350-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes or until it's bubbly and you might see a little brownness on the top. The cheese is all melty and beautiful, and then we're gonna take it out of the oven and let it rest for 10 minutes, at which time we will return and I will fix you a plate of this delicious throwback retro classic tuna noodle casserole. There you have it. Classic retro tuna noodle casserole. This will take you right back to your kitchen table a la 1975. This is, to me, one of the best tuna noodle casseroles I have come across. We always eat this with stewed tomatoes and green beans. I hope you give this retro classic tuna noodle casserole a try sometime soon, and I hope you love it. Ingredients first, and then we'll start building this. The first thing we're going to need is 16 ounces of egg noodles. I have already cooked and drained these, and that's about 2 cups of diced ham. And then I've got 2 cups of cottage cheese, 2 cups of sour cream, 2 cups of shredded cheese. This is a blend, any kind that you want is fine. A 24-ounce bag of frozen baby spinach, and these we're going to toss in a minute, and everything's going to cook and get all melty together. Seasonings. I have a tablespoon of dried parsley, a teaspoon each of onion powder, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. And then for the topping, we have a cup of dry breadcrumbs and 2 tablespoons of butter. I'm going to melt this in a little while. We'll mix it together and we'll throw everything on top. So, we're going to start building this. Our noodles have been cooked and drained, and I like to use the same pot because why mess up another container? I mean, I'm making it for you, so I have all these jars that I measured everything out into, so it's not a big deal. But when you make it at home, you can just buy a 16-ounce container of sour cream and a 16-ounce container of cottage cheese, whatever is your preference. Cottage cheese, I think, is like one of those personal preference things because everybody likes a different kind.
A lot of lampshades.
It is a lot of lampshades. We'll throw in our cheese and our ham. And I'm going to give this a stir. I may want to add just a touch of milk to get things moving in here. Yeah, I think I do. Let me grab the milk. Okay, I find this to be a little on the thick side right now, so I'm going to add, let's try a half a cup of milk to start, just to get everything kind of loosened up, because we're really trying to make like a saucy base to cook these noodles in. It smells really good already. We haven't even put the seasonings in. But the cottage cheese, you know, when cottage cheese is cooked, it gets all, it souffles a little bit, and it's really yummy. I'm going to put another half cup. I'll add this to the recipe. Don't worry about writing this recipe down, folks. You can always go to noreenskitchen.com, and I'll have a page dedicated to this casserole. You can go over there, and you can print out a copy of your own recipe. And then you can put it on your refrigerator door, like on your refrigerator, like I do, so I can refer. I do actually have to print out my own recipes when I make stuff. So, okay, here goes all of our seasoning. I'm going to go ahead and add my spinach in here. If you prefer a different vegetable, go ahead and give that a try. I would stick with a green vegetable, like I would add green beans or broccoli. That would be nice as well. Just give this a good mix and fold all those noodles into all that sauce. I just added my butter to my dry breadcrumb, and I'm just going to kind of toss the breadcrumb in that butter. What I want to see is I don't want to see clumps of butter. I want to see that most of the breadcrumb has been coated with the butter. You don't need a ton of butter, but you do need enough so that each one has a little bit of moisture on it. But if you just go through here like this, mix it up, it's all going to be good. Okay, now let's go sprinkle our casserole. Alright, we sprinkled the top of our casserole with the buttered breadcrumb, and now we're going to put this in the oven. I have the oven preheated at 350 degrees, and this is probably going to serve, I would say 10 to 12 is what I would say. So, this is going to bake for 30 to 45 minutes until everything is bubbly, the top is brown, and it's heated through. We'll be back when it's time to take it out. This is ready to come out of the oven. It has been in here for just about 45 minutes. And look at that. Just gorgeous. It's perfectly done. It's just, everything needs to be heated through because everything's really cooked. The noodles I undercooked ever so slightly so that they absorbed all that good sauce that we built around them. So we're going to let this sit here for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to fix you a plate of Amish ham and noodle casserole because I know you're hungry. Alright, I fixed you a plate. Are you excited? I am, because this looks positively delicious. You can see everything. Ham, spinach, noodles, that creamy sauce that was created by the sour cream and the cottage cheese and the shredded cheese and the milk. I can't wait to taste this. I know it's going to be great. That's a winner. You're going to love it.